So last summer, Ubisoft was getting clowned on left and right for the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows, which stars a race-swapped version of a Japanese samurai called Yasuke. He is a black man in historical samurai-era Japan in the game. And this was a huge veer off from the usual pattern for Assassin's Creed games. They're praised for being historically accurate, and when people actually looked into the accuracy of this story that they told, they found out that the historical Yasuke was not a samurai and was more like an employee of a samurai, a swordsman, if you will. And the samurai in question, the Japanese man, took a strange fascination with his dark skin complexion and just sort of kept him around as a roadie. That was my understanding of it, at least. So they were getting clowned on for that. Obviously, the choice to make a black protagonist in a game about Japanese samurai is distinctly a Western choice influenced by DEI practices, which were common through the development of that game. But as the cultural vibe shift took place in the last year, couple of years,
we kind of treat that term like Schrodinger's cat, where we're like half the time we're just saying that it's not real, and half the time we're like it's because this happened. So
I
think not the most.
What it really means is that like the cultural vibe shift was oversold by people on the right, but it is a real thing, and game devs have taken notice. They had an Assassin's Creed game in the works, as we've just found out from a new report, that was based on the Reconstruction era, where you play as a freed slave in the South who basically goes on the warpath killing Ku Klux Klan members. And leadership decided that because of the current political climate, they didn't want to get in hot water with the anti-woke crowd once again, so they killed the idea before this game was even really in development or even had a working title. This is at least according to a scoop from Steven Totilo. He published this piece about the canceled game in GameFile News, saying last year Ubisoft canceled an Assassin's Creed game set during Reconstruction. It was to feature a black assassin who, among other things, fought the Klan's rise. Leadership nixed it, concerned with the political climate in the US and the backlash to Yasuke. He responded to this with his own thoughts on why this happened. He said, "Some have said that Assassin's Creed games that, quote, DEI kills art." He's quoting Elon Musk, actually, who said DEI kills art in response to Yasuke. But this might be a case where anti-DEI helped kill art. Much more about the game and the context of the decision. Most of the story is paywalled, but you can sample reading it. It's just being reported on in other outlets right now. Yep. People are, across the board, kind of laughing at this decision on the left and the right. The left is kind of outraged that this happened. One of them said they canceled the coolest effing video game ever because our current political climate would cause backlash for a game about killing racist terrorists. That's where we're at, by the way. Yeah. That wasn't on my 2025 bingo card. Hope this helps.
I said recently, every time I play bingo, I get numbers and not cultural events. It's weird.
So they're saying this is further evidence that we currently live in a far-right authoritarian dictatorship under the Trump administration, who is chilling speech and art expression.
Well, I mean, and the right would say that this is just market forces reacting. Oddly enough, I think if they had never done the blunder of Assassin's Creed Shadows, I think this one would have played fine.
If they were arguing about audience backlash, that has nothing to do with authoritarian measures. No. I don't think anyone at Ubisoft was worried about the Trump administration, I don't know, censoring their game. They were worried about it not selling well because it was a dumb idea. In my opinion, at least, it's a dumb idea. I think it is inherently inflammatory and racialized in the context of modern race relations, not historical race relations.
I'll give you an example of why I think it could have worked if it didn't have the baggage of the previous game. So it's the least talked about of his series, but Taylor Sheridan made a show called Lawman Bass Reeves, which is based on the first black U.S. Marshal in history, from that time period. And it's a period piece. It didn't get the same level of, energy that, say, a Yellowstone did, or even like a Landman, but people liked it fine, and it got decent reviews, and certainly nobody was up in arms because plenty of people had wanted to see his story told. Now, that has the benefit of being about a real person. But I don't think that this game would have gotten the backlash, because the big complaint they had about it was that the context of the character in this universe doesn't make any sense. But if you put a character in a time period where they do make sense, they're willing to go along with it, assuming that they were historically accurate as per their, what the credit they've been given for games past. I think it would have done fine if it didn't have the baggage of everything that came before it.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with how the Assassin's Creed Shadows game sold, but I did just see a bunch of people mocking it.
First day sales were good. Other than that, from everything that I read, it was very underwhelming. Like they would have released more information about the numbers if it had done the numbers they wanted it to.
Interesting to note, they said employees were enthusiastic about the game idea, but were also frustrated by its cancellation, which they perceived as Ubisoft bowing to controversy. So the truth here is that creatives behind video games, behind TV shows or movies or any media really, they rarely have any stake in the performance of the project. They only care about the artistic integrity of it, and they get paid regardless. They get paid for their job on whatever project it is, and they have no bearing or concern with how it performs or how it's received from consumers. The parent company, Ubisoft in this case, has to care about that, or the Hollywood studio has to care how the movie performs. The writer of the movie doesn't have to care about that at all. So that's why they perceive this to be Ubisoft bowing to controversy. No, they're responding to a controversy that already happened and making a smart decision based on a PR disaster that they already brought upon themselves.
But this is something that ends up being confounding, which is like half the time they say that the streaming or that the Hollywood studios only want to make stuff that's propaganda, right? And they say that, they'll make whatever. It doesn't matter if it makes money or not. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like a lot of the time people are like, they just make propaganda. They don't care if the movie fails or not. But then at the same time, then these properties get canceled and they don't do it again. So they're just reacting to market forces.
Right. Instead of making smart decisions before things actually get into production and release.
Yeah.
It's definitely more complicated than that. But for the most part, the creatives and writers and artists behind these projects don't have to think about the way they're going to be received. They only care about the message.
They get the check up front.
It cannot be understated, in my perspective, that this game is basically a power fantasy about killing white people. That's what it is.
I mean, I don't know who made but the concept of it would have been based on real history. So yeah,
I understand that, but that's a convenient cover.
So then you have to know, I would have to know more about the person who pitched it there. Like, there are plenty of people who have made historically accurate video games, but nowadays it's like when I saw somebody in the chat earlier mention new Peacemaker tonight. When James Gunn makes season 2 of Peacemaker about Nazi alternate timelines, you're like, look, the comment I was trying to make before was like, they don't use Earth X because it's interesting. They use Earth X because it's got Nazis and that's what they want to talk about. Mm-hmm. So it's giving you, at least that would be my summation of what I believe James Gunn's intentions are, because I do believe that he's politically motivated and that's where he wants the story to go. He wasn't, he didn't find the idea of Earth X or these characters, super gripping. He just found the ones that fit best into what he felt like writing about. Now, part of that is because, he knows what works for him creatively, and it does. But for the rest of us, I'm just like, It's like we've had 30 shows with alt history, the Nazis won World War II. We've already seen Hunters, The Man in the High Castle. All of this stuff has been done before. But without knowing who it was that pitched it, I can assume that you're right, that it's just like, I want to talk about this and I want to, kill members of the KKK. I did see a funny tweet that was like, so a black Republican gets to go on a rampage.
I 100% believe that, knowing what we know about the people at Ubisoft who are behind their game development and the reception of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the reason why this was brought up as an idea in the first place is because they hate white people and they wanted to make a game about killing white people. And there's not a whole lot else to it.
Yeah. I would believe
and
that...
just keep in mind, the members of the KKK that would be portrayed in this game, they see those characters the exact same way that they see you.
Yep.
They think that you are KKK, that you are a Nazi, and when they call mainstream right-wing figures, like Charlie Kirk, for instance, a Nazi or a fascist, that's not just an insult, it's a permission slip for violence. And that's the violent fantasy that they were hoping to create and give a platform to with this game.
I will also believe that it's purely artistic when, like they always, and I've had a hard time trying to explain this on the show. There's been plenty of shows and movies made about communism. But to pretend like Hollywood has created an equal amount of interest in both of those ideologies is insane. Because I was like, I followed this thread on X where they were listing like the movies and the shows that have been about Nazis in World War II, and then movies and shows that have been about communism and things like that. And I'm like, if you think that there's been equal attention given to both, you're insane.
Right.
You are. Like, I remember I finally got around to watching Archangel with what's his name? Daniel Craig. And it was really good. And it was about, the fall of Stalin. And it came out in 2006. It's like you don't really get to see a whole lot of stuff made about the Stalins, the Lenins, the Maos. You're just never going to. Mustache Man is much easier to sell for people.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.